What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be working on this 2000 Lexus GS300. Okay, so right now it has a 2JZ GE. I already got another block. It's a GE as well, but I threw all the GTE internals except for the oil squirts. I'm not gonna use the oil squirts. I'm gonna be using the head from this one because they recently did the head not long ago. So I'm gonna be using this head, but I'm gonna use everything from the GTE. I'm not gonna be using the turbos or the intake. I'm gonna go with the aftermarket on those. I gotta use turbo. It should be fine. So I'm gonna be using a single turbo, and I'm gonna use the GTE computer, GTE harness, and we'll see how it works. So I'm gonna start taking it apart. I'm gonna start off with the air filter housing, and then I'm just gonna disconnect the harness. I'm gonna disconnect the power steering. I'm gonna remove all the hoses, radiator, everything. I'm gonna pull out the whole thing. I'm gonna pull out the motor and the trans. I think I'm gonna go with the GTE trans as well, the 2JZ GTE transmission. And I'm gonna finish putting the other motor together. Then I'm gonna get everything clean and ready, and then I'm gonna drop the other motor in. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start taking this apart. Okay, so this is the progress so far. I already disconnected the exhaust, everything on the top. The intake, I just gotta remove that part of the intake, but I'm gonna do it right now. I'm draining the power steering right now. These are all the parts I took off. Pretty much everything. So I'm gonna take the last part of the intake off, disconnect everything on this side, and I think I'm gonna pull out the motor with the tranny. I'm just gonna pull everything together at the same time. Okay, I already disconnected everything. The heater hoses. I removed the whole intake manifold, also the brackets that go here in the harness. I already took everything off and disconnected everything. The transmission, I removed the cross member, the drive line, and the linkage for the shifter. Everything is off. So I'm gonna grab the cherry picker and I'm gonna pull it out right now. Okay, so I finished pulling the motor out. So here's the motor. I'm gonna keep a couple of things that I'm gonna use, like the brackets for the motor mounts. I'm gonna get new motor mounts because these ones, they're no good anymore, and this one's messed up too. And then the transmission mount is messed up too. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna clean the engine bay. I'm not gonna do that right now, but I'm eventually gonna get to it. I'm gonna clean up the engine bay, but first I'm gonna clean some of these parts, and then I gotta take some parts off and I'm gonna clean them as well. I'm gonna reuse some stuff from here, not everything, pretty much not everything. And then for this pile of parts, I am gonna be reusing like the radiator, the alternator, I don't think the compressor is any good. The power steering, I know it's not working for sure, so I'm not gonna reuse that. But some stuff I am gonna reuse. I don't think I'm gonna use this harness. I'm just gonna take it off, but I am gonna use some of the wires from it. And I got the other motor sitting somewhere in the back, the one that I throw the GTE pistons and rods. So I'm gonna go ahead and just clean some of the parts that I'm gonna need from now. I'm just gonna clean parts, and then once I get everything clean, then I'm gonna finish putting the other motor together. Okay, so I already took off the motor. Now I'm gonna remove the head because I'm gonna take it to the machine shop. Like I said, I'm gonna be reusing a couple of things from this block, and one of those things is gonna be the head. So I'm gonna take it off, resurface it. I'm gonna make sure all the valves are sealing properly. I'm gonna do like a leak test on the valves, and then I'm gonna bolt it onto the other block that I have ready for it. Okay, so I already took off the head. There's the motor. I'm gonna end up doing the whole thing. I was just gonna resurface it and just check the valves, but I want to have a fresh motor, so I'm just gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna go ahead and take it to the machine shop right now. Once I get it back, I'm gonna start putting the motor together. Okay, so here's the old block. Now I'm gonna show you guys the other one that I put together a couple of weeks ago. So this is the other one that I'm gonna be using. This one has GTE pistons and rods, and I already cleaned all the parts. So all the parts are over here. I already cleaned everything, so I'm gonna probably paint the valve covers and a couple of other things. Here's all the bolts, and the plastics and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything ready to put it all together. But before I do, I want to show you guys the process on how I took this motor apart and how I got everything ready. So let me go ahead and show you guys that video. Okay, this is the motor I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna take it all apart. I'm gonna clean it up, take it to the machine shop, and I'm gonna be throwing in some used GTE pistons from another 2J. I'm pretty sure they're gonna hold a lot more power than the non-turbo ones. So I'm gonna go ahead, take it apart, and I want to see how the inside looks like. I don't really care because, like I said, I'm still gonna rebuild the bottom end. And for the head, I'm gonna use the original head from the car because they recently did it. So I don't need to do this head. I'm just gonna keep it all stock for the head. It should make I'm looking for like anywhere 350 to 400. So it should make anywhere around that on the stock head. So let me go ahead and take it apart. Okay, so I'm almost done taking it apart. I already removed pretty much everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and, so most of the parts are over here. I'm gonna go ahead and take the head off right now, and then I'm gonna turn it upside down and remove the rest of the stuff. Okay, I got the head off. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it upside down, and I'm gonna start taking the pistons off and the crank. Okay, so I'm taking off the oil pan, and so far I noticed that this rod has a lot of play, so it spun a bearing. So I'm gonna completely take it apart and I'm gonna inspect the rest of them. But most likely I'm not gonna use this crank. I'm just gonna replace the crank. Okay, so piston number 1 got a rod knock, and piston number 6 got a rod knock as well. The rest of them I already checked, and the rest of them are they're okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take it all apart from now on. Okay, so here's the motor. The head is off. The crank, the pistons. I don't think I'm gonna use this crank because I don't know if you're able to tell, but it has a lot of wear. So I'm gonna check it first, but most likely I'm just gonna pay, I think they're like $100 for a used one. So I think I'm just gonna get a used one and replace it, because honestly this motor, it looks like they run it without oil. So you can see how the piston over here, you could see how it overheated, number 1 and number 6, but I think 6 got the worst. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this to the machine shop right now, and I'm gonna look for another crank. I don't want to use that crank. Okay, so back to the motor. I got all the pieces right here to put it together. These are some of the pieces. That's the block. It has the GTE pistons and rods now. I'm gonna use a GTE oil pump, and here's the rest of the parts. Some gaskets, the rear main, seals. I'm gonna try to use the Toyota OEM parts, that way it doesn't leak any oil later on. I got the bracket for the motor mount. I got all the bolts right here. I cleaned them. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting this together. I'm gonna start with the rear main, then I'm gonna put the oil pan, and then I'm gonna assemble the head and the rest of the parts. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on that, and I'll show you guys the progress. All right, so I already installed the oil pump, the oil pan, and the rear main. I'm gonna go ahead and install the head now. I got a Tomei head gasket. It's I think 1.5 millimeters. So I'm gonna be using that because I machined the surface of the block. So that's gonna compensate for the head and the block. So I'm gonna go ahead and install it right now, and then I'm gonna finish bolting on all the accessories. Okay, so this is what I've done so far. I already installed the whole front of the motor, not the covers. I'm gonna put the covers on right now on the tensioner, but I pretty much put the cams, the pulleys, the water pump, timing belt, tensioner, and I already installed the valve covers. So I'm gonna finish the motor right now. I'm just gonna put the plastics, the timing covers, and the tensioner, and I think that's gonna be it. And the pulleys, like the water pump and the crankshaft pulley, and I think that's gonna be pretty much it. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and finish it, and then I'm gonna bolt on the turbo, the manifold, the turbo, and the intake. Okay, so I'm done with the motor. This is how it looks. I'm gonna be using this intake. It's not completely bolted on. I just put a bolt so it can stay there, but this is how it's gonna look. I just wanted to see if everything was gonna clear, and apparently everything's gonna clear. For the turbo, same thing. It's not completely bolted on. I just put a bolt and a nut to hold it in place. And the manifold, same thing. I just put a nut to hold it in place, but I just want to make sure everything was gonna clear, and apparently everything's gonna work no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the car ready. I gotta clean the engine bay, and I'm still waiting for the motor mounts. I should get them anytime. So once I finish cleaning the engine bay and I get the motor mounts, I'm gonna drop it in. I still gotta figure out the transmission. I'm gonna go with an automatic, but I think I'm gonna use the one from the GTE. I don't know if the GE and the GTE are the same, but I'm gonna go with the GTE. It should at least handle the power that this motor is gonna be making, so that's why I'm gonna use the GTE transmission. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.